Hi guys, so what we're going to be doing today is we're going to be dividing fractions. So there's three different types of fraction division. There's when it's two fractions, when there's whole numbers divided by fractions or fractions divided by whole numbers, and then it's where we have mixed numbers. So we're going to go over all those different options and how we're going to be able to simplify these problems to get an answer. So, the biggest thing that we need to remember when we're doing division of fractions is that we are going to adjust the problems to be able to turn them into multiplication problems. To do that, we're going to be finding the reciprocal or flipping the second fraction. So, that's called the reciprocal, is when I flip a fraction over. So, we are going to use the method of keep, change, flip. So, I'm going to keep the first fraction, change my sign to multiplication, and I'm going to flip my second fraction over. So if I am looking at this problem, I have 2/5 divided by 3/4. So I'm going to keep my first fraction. So I'm going to keep it as 2/5. I'm going to change my division sign to a multiplication symbol, and I'm going to flip my second fraction over to find the reciprocal and get 4/3. Once I've changed the math problem, it's just multiplication and I'm going to multiply straight across. So when I have two fractions that I'm dividing, I'm going to keep the first one, change to multiplication, and flip the second fraction over. Now I just multiply straight across as if this is two multiplication problems. So 2 times 4 is 8. 5 times 3 is 15. My last step that I would need to do is to see if I need to simplify. So this is where our previous lessons of greatest common factor and least common multiple come into play. So I'm going to be looking for the greatest common factor. So if I think about my factors of 8 and 15, I'm going to see if I have any factor that is not 1 that they both share. So my factors of 8, so if I'm doing my factors of 8, I have 1, 8, 2, 4. My factors of 15 are 1, 15, 3, and 5. They do not have a common factor besides 1, so I know my fraction is in the simplest form, and I know I'm done. So when I have just two fractions, I know I keep the first fraction, I change to multiplication, and then I flip the second one. But not all fractions division problems are like that. Sometimes I have just a whole number. So if I have a whole number, I have to be able to change that into a fraction to be able to do division. So every number can be written as a fraction. I need to think about in my head, what number can I divide 6 by to keep it a 6? Because a fraction is nothing but a division problem in disguise. This literally means 1 divided by 6. So I need to think, what does 6 get divided by to keep it a 6? The only number I can divide 6 by and it keeps it a 6 is 1. So when I'm trying to do keep, change, flip, I need to keep this, but I need to keep it as a fraction. So I'm going to turn this into a fraction by going 6 over 1. 6 divided by 1 is still 6, or I have 6 groups of 1. So 6 over 1 is the same thing as the whole number 6. Now I'm going to finish doing keep, change, flip. So I'm going to change this into a multiplication symbol, and I'm going to flip these two fractions or this fraction over to find the reciprocal. Now that I have two fractions that I need to multiply, I'm going to multiply straight across. 6 times 6 is 36. 1 times 1 is 1. When I have a fraction with a larger numerator than a denominator, I know that it is improper, which means I have whole numbers in there. So like I said, a fraction is nothing but a division problem in disguise. So I can do 36 divided by 1 to get my answer. And we already just decided that anything over 1 is just a whole number. So 36 divided by 1 is going to be 36. And that is the farthest that you need to simplify that. So now I'm going to look at one more example before you guys break away and start having some practice time. So you guys are going to be looking at what happens when I have a whole number with a fraction. So those are called mixed numbers. We cannot do division or multiplication of fractions with mixed numbers. I need to turn that into a single improper fraction. So when I'm trying to say how many pieces are there, I'm going to say each one of my wholes have 2 pieces. So if I have 2 wholes, I can draw a picture. And then I have 1/2. So if I split these both into halves, I'm going to ask how many halves do I have to be able to turn this into a improper fraction. So I have 2 wholes plus 1/2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 halves. So I have 5 over 2. I have 5 halves. There's also a simpler way to turn mixed numbers into improper fractions. I can always multiply my denominator by my whole number. So 2 times 2 is 4. And then I'm going to take the 4, because that's how many pieces I have in my whole, is those 4 pieces. And I'm going to add it to the 1 piece that I have in the extra part. So I'm going to add 4 plus 1, and that's going to give me 5. And I bring over my 2. So that's exactly what we got down here. So that was my keep. I'm going to change division to multiplication, and I'm going to flip the second fraction over to find my reciprocal. So 6 over 5. Now I have a multiplication problem that I need to solve. So I'm going to multiply straight across. 5 times 6 is 30. 2 times 5 is 10. So I have a larger number on top than I do on the bottom. That means I have an improper fraction, and I need to simplify this. So I can say 30 divided by 10. If I need to do the division, I can do it over here. So I'm going to figure out how many 10s go into 30. So if I need to write down my multiples, I can. I'm going to run out of room, but I already have a 30. I have 1, 2, 3, so it's 3 times. I'm going to put a 3 up in my quotient. 3 times 10 is 30. I'm going to subtract and get 0. So my answer is 3. So 30 divided by 10 is 3 as a whole number. Okay, so we're going to look at one more example where I have a mixed number on both numbers that I'm dividing. So I'm going to be looking at 5 2/3 divided by 1 2/7. So I want to take a second, think about what I need to do. So I cannot divide with whole numbers, so I need to turn them into improper fractions. So remember, I can take my denominator, multiply it by my whole number. 3 times 5 is 15. 15 plus 2 is going to give me 17 over 3. I'm going to do the same thing with this one. 7 times 1 is 7. 7 plus 2 is going to be 9 over 7. So I have my new fractions. So I'm going to keep my first 17/3. I'm going to change to multiplication, and I'm going to flip my second fraction. So now I have 17 thirds times 7 ninths. So I need to multiply straight across. 17 times 7, we can do the math off to the side. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 4 is 11. So 17 times 7 is 119 over 3 times 9 is 27. I can tell that this is now an improper fraction because my numerator, the top number, is larger than my denominator. So I need to pull out my whole numbers. We can do this of one of two ways. You can do repeated subtraction, or you can do division. So I'm going to do division. So I'm going to set it up over here. My numerator is always going to be my number on the inside. My denominator is going to be on the outside. So I have 119 divided by 27. So now when I want to do division, remember I want to do my first 9 multiples of 27 to help with the division. So I'm just going to list them to the side. So I have 27. Then I'm going to add 27 and get 54, 81. 81 plus 27 is 108. Then 135, 162, 189, 216, and 243. I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 27 go into 1, which is 0? How many times does 27 go into 11? Still 0. How many times does 27 go into 119? So I'm going to go to my list. Too small, too small, too small, too small, too big. Go up by 1. That's the fourth number down. So I'm going to have a 4 in my quotient. 4 times 27 is 108. I'm going to subtract, and I'm going to get 11. So now I have my whole answer right here. So my answer, this 4 is going to be my whole number. I'm going to move my picture really quick. This 11 is my new numerator. That's the pieces I have left over. I have 11 pieces that do not fit into a whole number. So I have 4 as my whole number. I have 11 as my new numerator. And then my denominator does not change. It is still 27. So then I know that 5 2/3 divided by 1 2/7 is going to give me 4 11/27. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks. Bye.